Let's consider the idea of who is black. There was lots of talk during the 2008 elections about Barack Obama and how he was either black or half black. He had a father who was from Kenya, and his mother was an American. So there was lots of talk about Barack Obama being black or half black. Interesting that there was not much talk about him being half white, or that he was white at all, when he was, by parentage, as much white as he was black. So it was his minority status that defined him, not his relationship with the majority status, i.e., being white. So we'll discuss in short order the one-drop rule, but before we do, I want you to try and grapple with and think about how our social order and the privilege that is associated with that social order might be designed to benefit some people and not others. So we have this one-drop rule for blacks, meaning that if there is even a small percentage of African American or black heritage, that you're designated as black. But in the case of determining who is Native American, the rule is completely different. In the case of Native Americans, one must be at least 1/4 Native American parentage to be able to qualify for some benefits. The idea of the one-drop rule is what's known as hypodescent, which is the automatic assignment of children and a mixed union or mating between members of different socioeconomic groups or ethnic groups to the subordinate group. The opposite practice is hyperdescent, in which children are assigned to the race that is considered dominant or superior. Hyperdescent would be how Native Americans are classified, at least in terms of how benefits are granted by the U.S. government. The one-drop rule originated from Southern common law. Many of the states would then later codify through their laws who was black. Depending on the state, it could take as little as 1/32 or 1/8 of parentage being black to classify someone as such. So this is the rule of hypodescent, meaning that just a small trace, and hypo generally refers to, in medical terms, to less than, just a small trace would suffice to classify a person as black. Realize that for almost all the legal issues or controversies that might occur over a person's status, that it would be the state that determines what level of black parentage might be used to determine if you were black or not. So in one state, that might be 1/8, meaning that if one grandparent was black, you were deemed to be so. And in another state, that might use 1/32 of your parentage to categorize you as such, that it would take just one great-great-grandparent to deem a person black. So the big takeaway here is that the rule of hypodescent means that the person gets assigned the status of the subordinate group, even if that is a very small percentage of their actual heritage. On the other hand, Native Americans are not subject to hypodescent rule. Instead, hyperdescent is applied. In order to qualify for benefits, a person must establish the amount of Native American or American Eskimo parentage. The Bureau of Indian Affairs calls this a Certificate of Degree of Indian or Alaskan Native Blood. And I just want to note that I myself am surprised that the language has not changed to Native American, that it's referred to as Indian by the State Department. Old labels are slow to change. So, for some benefits, the Bureau of Indian Affairs requires 1/4 of parentage to be eligible for benefits. That 1/4 cannot come from different ancestors either, meaning that you can't have 2 great-grandparents that would be 1/8 each of your heritage to add up to 1/4 of your bloodlines. So, of course, the idea is that those that actually get benefits, generationally, they will start to age out. One huge area of benefits, and one reason that this rule was applied, was because oil was found to be on some of the reservations, and thus was owned by the tribes associated with those lands. So you can see why the federal government might want to limit the number of people who not only get what they would generally think of government benefits, but also access to the profits associated with that oil, which was found on tribal lands. And of course, you can see who writes the rules, who benefits from the rules, and who loses out.